Hi, my name is Mary Lou Pauly, and I'm the mayor of the city of Issaquah. I am joined today with Representative Kim Schrier, who represents the people of Washington's 8th Congressional District. Dr. Schrier is also a pediatrician, and I believe the only pediatrician that sits in our current Congress. As you'll see, we are meeting today by Skype. We are practicing our social and our physical distancing. And Dr. Schrier, I want to thank you for spending your time with us this afternoon.
Thank you, Mayor Pauly. It's so good to see you. And yeah, we're physically distanced, but not socially distanced. Although,
correct,
we're not exactly grabbing coffee together at Issaquah Coffee Company right now. We'll put in a plug there.
I know.
Am I allowed to put in a plug?
It is just really nice to see your face, I'll be honest. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing at the national level for the 8th District?
Absolutely. I think the first thing you need to know is that even though I'm not in Washington, D.C., my schedule is packed, and I'm doing Congress virtually from my home. And I would say there's two big ways that we in Congress have been working. And the first is legislation. So you know about all these bills we've passed. The first one to reimburse public health expenses and spur development of a vaccine, and the second one to make sure people had sick leave and family leave and testing was free. And then the third, the really big one with unemployment and help for small businesses. And then we put more into that about a week ago. We have another package coming up. But here's the thing most people don't know, which is that I am in touch daily with the governor's office, with the hospital association, with small business owners, with FEMA and HHS, so that all of our congressional delegation can be on exactly the same message with our governor, so that when he needs a field hospital, we're out there pushing FEMA for a field hospital. And so we've really been going to bat side by side with the governor and the State Department of Health and King County Health.
Thank you. I'm sure you're right. I think most of our public wouldn't understand what your Congresswoman's job looks like now in COVID. So thank you for telling us that. And thank you for keeping in touch with them. It's super important. I know you sponsored the Paycheck Protection Program, Extension Act, and what's the latest on support for our local businesses?
Well, we're hearing more and more success stories. We're also hearing frustration. So I'm happy to know that one of a physical therapist in Issaquah who I spoke with just on Friday, who was really struggling. She hadn't heard anything yet. She heard just this week that her loan was approved. It's coming through. She'll be able to keep her doors open and keep her employees on. So, this was a huge program. It started with $350 billion, ran out really quickly. We went back and put another $310 billion in it. What we're trying to do is make sure that we're helping Main Street, that we're helping the little guy. And there are several businesses here in Issaquah that have gotten help. In fact, Village Theater is one of them. I don't think I'm at liberty to disclose all of the names. But there's also been some frustration. We've all heard these stories about Ruth's Chris and Potbelly getting loans. Like, that's not where it was intended. So we're still working to make this better, or even to replace it with a program with more transparency and a more streamlined process. We got to save Main Street.
Thank you. We really appreciate your efforts. I think I mentioned before we started today that I was at the Cougar Mountain Zoo, and they did apply during the first round and were put in the queue because the money did get handed out so quickly. But they were successful in the second round. And in talking with the manager up there, it's an incredible difference that it makes. The zoo's going to survive because of programs like this, and we are extremely grateful. As you have said before, testing is the key to getting back to work. What barriers remain in getting more tests?
Well, testing has been just embarrassingly slow in our country. Right away, the first rollout of the CDC test, it was botched. It couldn't be depended on to give accuracy. And so we got a really slow start. And meanwhile, with that delay, coronavirus was spreading in our communities. I mean, it was already well in King County. And then ever since, I feel like we've just been limping along. And I'll tell you that I, with the governor, with our state health department, with the rest of our delegation, Democrats and Republicans, we've all been really pushing, because even though the University of Washington, for example, can run thousands of tests per day, I think they can run 10,000, and all together in our state with private labs, we could do 20. We've only been doing a maximum of 5,000 tests a day. And the reason is we're missing one of the ingredients along the way. It's either the swab that goes up your nose, or the medium that you put the test tube, or the stuff you have to run the test with. And so it's sourcing that kind of stuff from China and states competing with states, and our own federal government not mandating the manufacturing of that here at home, that is really causing us to limp along. We should not be in this situation. We're depending on China for all these resources, and I think that's a big mistake right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. You have also been working very hard to educate the residents in the 8th district on how to file for unemployment benefits. And so what's the latest there, and do you have any tips that you would like to share?
Sure. So first of all, I think Susie Levine and all of her staff at the Employment Security Department have been working overtime. I mean, I think they've gotten more than 1 million applications, but people are having trouble getting through. The website, gets overloaded. So there's a couple things I would recommend. First of all, try applying at some weird time of day, like middle of the night, super early morning, see if you can get through then. Second, if there's questions that you need answered, they do have really good information on their website. I think they even have a webinar, some kind of instruction on there that they say answers 2/3 of the questions that they typically get on the phones. Okay, the third thing you need to know is that it's not going to run out of money. The PPP program, this loan for small businesses, it did run out of money. That's not going to happen with unemployment. So, the delay is painful because you've got rent to pay and bills to pay, but it will be there. And then once you get approved, you will get back payment to when you first qualified. So that first check will probably be just much bigger. There's one other thing and you should know, which is that let's say you're a gig economy worker, an independent contractor, you would not traditionally have been eligible for unemployment. So you would, the way that this works on their website is you go through the first questionnaire and you're told that you don't qualify, but then hang in there because that opens up the next door. That's, would you like to apply for pandemic unemployment assistance? And you just hit yes and keep going, and then you will get those benefits. So hang in there. Use their website. Don't lose faith.
Great. Thank you. And it is confusing because benefits have changed. They have been expanded, and thank you for that. Here in Issaquah, as most other cities, we're also kind of feeling the economic change in circumstance, and we're forecasting currently a $10 million hit to our general fund alone, which means our community will have reduced services. What options are available at the federal level to assist cities with delivering local services, and local services like police and fire and, clean water and sewers and all that we do?
First of all, thank you for doing all that you do. I think there's so many of these local government provided support that we just take for granted. We take for granted that our police department's there and that fire and paramedics are there, even firefighters, for our wildfires. And that all comes from government resources. And when businesses are shuttered, there's no taxes being paid, there's no sales tax coming in, and you end up with this kind of shortfall. So that's why it's so important to support state and local government. We pushed hard for that in that third bill, the big $2.2 trillion one, but all we could squeak out in negotiations with the other side was money for states and money for cities with over 500,000 people, which is not Issaquah. So I have been writing letters and supporting legislation to get the little guys in there. Again, that's who we need to help now. And in this next package, I am assured from the Speaker of the House that there will be robust funding for states, for local governments and counties down to the littlest, because what will we do without these essential services? And imagine just one more thing, we saw really high unemployment numbers this week. If our states and cities have to start laying off people, imagine what will happen to those unemployment numbers. And we just can't afford to lose that kind of infrastructure. So we've got your back.
Congresswoman Schrier, thank you for mentioning that. We've already taken some steps in our city. We're taking a very phased approach. Like you had said earlier, things are changing every day. And we are learning about either new sources of money or programs, but we already have had layoffs. We've laid off over 20 staff. We have kept more than 20 vacancies that will be unfilled. It is a significant portion of our workforce, and it only gets us. Oh, and we have included furloughs, and we've also had our management team take pay cuts, and we're only halfway to closing the gap. And so those are very dramatic actions, and we're still not where we need to be. So I have a couple more questions for you. Sure. One is, what have I not asked you that you would like to tell your district representatives? Is there anything that I missed?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, please know that we are aware that everybody's hurting. Mayor Pauly, as you were just talking about the shortfalls with local government and, the threatened layoffs and furloughs, your people who are now having to go on unemployment, mm-hmm. None of us want that. The whole idea in that Paycheck Protection Program was basically to have unemployment delivered through your employer. So basically the business gets a loan, and as long as you keep your people on payroll, even if they're not doing anything, the loan gets forgiven, the business stays open, the people are still employed. So please know that we know that everybody's hurting right now. Big businesses are hurting. Every family is feeling the strain of this. And so we are trying our best to keep people afloat. And I know it doesn't make everybody whole, but you should also have faith that this is going to be the fifth of many bills, and that the last bill is going to be a very big, robust infrastructure plan that gets America back to work. We will have tremendous needs, and some of our businesses will not make it through this. We know that. So we need to have another place to grow our economy and get things back in order. Did you have any medical questions? Or do you think you're...
No, I feel like I'm a junior scientist now. With my background in engineering, I find all of the studies and everything fascinating. I did want to ask you if there's a way that we can help you with what you're doing. What can we do to help you?
Oh, goodness. Let my office know what you need help with. I'm here to serve you. You are not here to serve me. So let's just please stay in touch with my office. The more I hear from you, either by email or regular mail, the more I know what's on your mind and the more I can do to go advocate for you. And for example, here I am in my home in Sammamish, but I've been in really close contact with farmers in the eastern part of my district. At the same time, I've been in touch with the people running food banks throughout the 8th district in the state. And so I have a bill coming up, hopefully it will be included in next week's package, that bridges that gap. So I hear from you, and then I can propose legislation that now is getting a ton of momentum, that basically we get money to the state buys produce from local farmers, gets that to our local food banks, and bypasses the big bureaucracy of the USDA. And I'm super excited about it. So I guess the message is keep in touch with me so that I know how I can help you.
Thank you. I have to give a shout out to your staff. I have sent them so much information, details about Issaquah, our community, taking the temperature of how people feel. I get a response in an instant. And I know you are getting our information, and it's part of that story that you're telling when you're in Congress. So thanks to all of your team. They're doing a great job. I wanted to thank you. Yeah, they are. I wanted to thank you, Representative Schrier, for joining me today and for all the work that you're doing on behalf of the 8th and Issaquah. And for those that are watching, if you want to learn more about the city's COVID-19 response, please go to issaquah.gov/COVID-19. Again, Representative Schrier, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor Pauly. We're so lucky to have you leading the city of Issaquah.